opposition you face? Is it the same people who ousted you that are opposing him?
No, I only had 8 against me.
Is this the beauty of this conference? Any number of people can always just come together to form an opposition? It feels that way.
We're in a very bad place.
Should he wait until he has 217 votes to go to the floor?
I would. I'd have that discussion here. That's exactly what he's doing right now.
So what if that doesn't happen today?
You're in a very bad place. It's a pretty strong phrase to use. Why do you think you're in a bad place?
We've been 3 weeks without a speaker. We let 8 people work with every single Democrat to put us in here to go directly against what our conference rules say, that if you do a motion to vacate, you have to have 50% of the conference. And so now we're in a situation where remove the speaker, remove the majority leader from being speaker, remove Jim Jordan from being speaker, every single person that's won. And now we've just gone through a battle with elections of 9 people, 1-1. And now when we had a roll call vote, you can get 217.
Have you heard from anyone? There is now a push being floated by former Speaker McCarthy to be reinstalled as Speaker McCarthy alongside Jim Jordan as the assistant speaker. 2 points to make here, and I do hear your laughter. 2 points to make here. The first is one source who was... I can't even continue with you. Let me finish. One source who was briefed on this idea.
Meanwhile,
Mr. Johnson, you helped lead the efforts to overturn the 2020 election results. Will you...
Next question. Next question.
All right, guys, so we have to give a little quick update here on the GOP Speaker of the House race because it seems like the GOP has now selected a new nominee. After Tom Emmer dropped out, after Trump came in and basically nuked his whole speaker career before it could even get started, the GOP has regrouped and they have selected a new Speaker of the House nominee. Now, the 5 candidates that were running, as you can see here, you have them listed by their Liberty scores, which is basically a score for how conservative these Republicans vote. At the top, Byron Donalds, who is the people's choice outside of maybe somebody like Jim Jordan, of course. Jim Jordan is the people's choice. Byron Donalds, I would say, is second in regards to people that are actually interested in the job. But you guys already know kind of how this works in the sense that when it comes to Republicans selecting who they want to lead them, who they want to be Speaker of the House, the more conservative you are, the less chance you have of actually winning. Okay, I think we've seen that throughout this whole process, that the closer you are to a Democrat, the more likely you are to win. So it should be no surprise that the person that's near the bottom of this list, Mike Johnson, who is from Louisiana, he's represented from Louisiana, he won. Okay, now this guy has a 74% score, which is not terrible, right? I mean, it's passable, right? It's passable at this point, okay? But he was actually selected. Now, Mike Johnson won over Byron Donalds, as he received 128 votes, while Byron Donalds received 29, and Kevin McCarthy, who was ousted, received 43 votes. Now, we're going to talk more about Kevin McCarthy because I believe that there are some games being played here in the sense that Kevin McCarthy is trying to snake his way back into leadership, and Mike Johnson, who needs 217 votes to become a House Speaker, he's not near that, right? In fact, there were a group of Republicans who were absent from the voting. So we really don't know how close Mike Johnson is to actually becoming Speaker, but we'll see, right? We're going to get more news tomorrow morning in regards to how close he is to actually becoming Speaker. But I do want to let you guys know a little bit about Mike Johnson, who he is. Again, he's the 4th Speaker designate. He received 127, 28 or so votes in the GOP conference. His Liberty score is 74%. He's been in Congress since 2017. He voted against certifying the 2020 election. He also has not voted in favor of funding Ukraine other than the initial funding bill. He served as a member of Trump's legal defense team during both 2019 and 2020 Senate impeachment trials. Apparently, he is a social conservative or more socially conservative In fact, I've seen Democrats come out here and say that he's a bigot, right? He's anti-LGBTQ, okay? So yeah, I mean, this is some of the preliminary information that, you know, we really don't want to get too much into, because a lot of this stuff might not matter, because the GOP seems to change their mind in regards to who they want to be their speaker designate based off the weather, right? Based off today. So that being said, I'm just going to play a couple clips here of Mike Johnson, so you guys can get familiar with some of the things he said in the past. Take a look.
Members have called for removal based on a myriad of objections against this president. Representative Al Green of Texas filed a resolution in the House for impeachment after Trump called for players kneeling during the national anthem to be fired. I mean, come on. You don't like his political positions? Great, but you can't impeach a president because you don't like him. That's not how this system works. We're in a constitutional republic. There are rules here. There are standards. You don't get to make that decision. The voters in this country do. And we have an election coming up in about 11 months. Let the people decide. Don't put yourselves in their place. You don't have the right to do it. You're not following the proper procedure. You're not doing this the right way. It's a rarely used constitutional device in our history. It's supposed to be. Professor Turley ended this way, and I will too. He said, quote, "Despite my disagreement with many of President Trump's policies and statements, impeachment was never intended to be used as a midterm corrective option for a divisive or unpopular leader," unquote. Look, we get it. You don't like him. That doesn't mean you can banish him from the marketplace. You can't send him out of his businesses and say he can't hold a position of honor or trust. You don't get the right to do that. The people of this country do. We live in a republic. I'm just sick of this. I yield back.
While we're developing in our policy shop all of these ideas that we're going to create in our portfolio, our playbook, so to speak, that when we regain the majority in 2 years, which we will, that we'll be ready to run and run those plays. We're also going to try to work with Democrats. I believe we have great relationships with individual members of the Democrat Party in Congress, right? We forge those relationships. I know on an individual basis, there are many Democrats in Congress who want to get things done. They don't disagree entirely with some of even the principles and ideas we talked about this morning, but they're beholden to a kind of an increasingly leftist, progressive, liberal base. And so they're doing a fine dance as well. I think we can work with reasonable members in the Democrat Party and hopefully keep the train on the track, so to speak. And that's our task and our challenge.
And to be quite explicit, Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats are not the enemy.
They're not the enemy. Look, Nancy Pelosi, and I say this in town halls, and when I'm in large Republican groups, they go, "Oh, you know, I'm in an R13 district as it's rated." But Nancy Pelosi, on an individual basis, is a very kind and generous person. She's been great to me. Come on, she is. I'm sorry, folks back home, she is. Look, she has a different idea of how to get to the end goal than I do, and I accept that. But my role as a conservative is not to launch grenades at the other side and regard them as an enemy. She's my fellow American. She's doing, in I think, every case, what she genuinely believes to be the right course. I think it's madness, her ideas. But what my challenge is to go with her, build a relationship, she and others like her, to try to convince them of the correctness of our arguments. You can't do that unless you have a dialogue.
Yeah, so I played those two clips for a reason. The first clip because clearly, I mean, he's on board with Trump. I don't see any reasons, at least as far as I've seen so far, for Trump to oppose him like he did with Tom Emmer, right? It was pretty obvious from the beginning that Trump was not going to like Tom Emmer. And again, in order to be speaker, you got to be cool with Trump, right? I mean, that's just what it is. At the end of the day, I mean, Trump nuked Tom Emmer into orbit. I don't think that's going to happen with Mike Johnson, but who knows? I don't know at this point. I don't know anything at this point. So that's one part of it, right? I mean, the guy, I mean, again, his Liberty score leaves a little bit to be desired, but at the same time, you know, I'm just saying, he has shown that, hey, you know, I'm willing to reach across the aisle, you know, to work with Democrats. And I'm not necessarily saying that that is something that I personally love, right? But at the same time, in order for him to actually become speaker, he has to be able to do that, right? He has to be able to do it if he's going to get, you know, some of these people that are holding out for whatever reason to get on board. So I'm just saying the reason why he was chosen is probably for those reasons, right? He's a Trump guy, or put it this way, he's not a guy that Trump's going to hate, that Trump is going to openly oppose, right? But he's also a guy that is close enough to the center that he can probably work with Democrats on some stuff. Now, you know what these people really want to do. They want to send money to Ukraine and overseas to fight wars. That's what they really, really, really want to do. That's they're more concerned about, more than the border, more than anything. Again, I would like to hear a lot more from him regards to his priorities and stuff. Again, this is right after they selected the guy.
We want to thank all the press for waiting. It's been quite a process. Democracy is messy sometimes, but it is our system. This conference that you see, this House Republican majority, is united. I'm honored to have the support of my colleagues, and what they understand about this is servant leadership. We're going to serve the people of this country. We're going to restore their faith in this Congress, this institution of government. America is the last best hope of man on the earth. Abraham Lincoln said it. Ronald Reagan used to remind us all the time, and we're here to remind you of that again. We're going to restore your trust in what we do here. You're going to see a new form of government, and we are going to move this quickly. This group here is ready to govern, and we're going to govern well. We're going to do what's right by the people. And I believe that people are going to reward that next year. But we have a lot of big priorities ahead of us right now. The world is on fire. We stand with our ally, Israel. We have a very busy agenda. We have appropriations bills to get through the process, but you are going to see this group working like a well-oiled machine. We owe that to the American people. The people up here have been sent here by the people of this country to do this job, and we are going to do it well. We commit that to you. Thank you for allowing us to go through the process and get to this. It was worth it, and we are going to serve you well. The intention is to go to the House floor tomorrow and make this official, and so we will be doing that. And if there are any questions, we'll take a couple, but we're all pretty weary. What's that? The intention is to go at noon tomorrow.
How many votes did you get?
I don't know.
All of them.
Yeah, we have some folks absent, and I'll be working with them tonight. So. I don't know what the final total was. We're united. We're united. There were no votes against.
Mr. Johnson, you helped lead the efforts to overturn the 2020 election results. Will you
Next question. Next question. I'm very confident. One more question?
Yeah, why don't you give more room for the cameras, not the still, for the
Love her. I love it.
Maria Salazar is our media director.
You've asked your question.
You asked your question. Go away.
We're not doing policy tonight. Any other questions? Other than that, thank you for being here. Let's go.
We're going to learn a lot more, right? We're going to learn a lot more about him. But the real reason I want to make this video is because I want you guys to watch out. Because I personally think, my gut feeling tells me that there's some games being played here, right? Because you had a significant portion of people in the ballots, right, the rounds of voting, that continued to vote for Kevin McCarthy, even though Kevin McCarthy had already been ousted, right? In fact, again, Kevin McCarthy received 43 votes. He received more votes than Byron Donalds, who actually was running for Speaker. Now, again, this is interesting because I personally believe that Kevin McCarthy is a snake. This is why all these people that are complaining about, hey, this process is so chaotic, man. Kevin McCarthy should stay Speaker. I'm like, look, I would rather go through this process than to have somebody like Kevin McCarthy in power. a man that you really can't trust, right? And stuff like this is why I say you can't trust him. Why the hell are 43 people still continuing to vote for Kevin McCarthy? When Kevin McCarthy, according to him, is out, he's not running anymore, he doesn't want to be speaker, but you still have 43 people voting for him. It's not like he's getting one of the, the protest votes, right? The one-off, like, the Newt Gingrich vote or the Trump vote or whatever, right? The people who really don't want to vote for somebody, right? So they just vote for anybody. No. This dude is getting 43 votes. And you also have news that has come out that apparently Republicans are so desperate that McCarthy is floating himself as speaker with Jim Jordan as his lieutenant. AKA what he's trying to do is that he's trying to weasel his way. He's trying to snake his way back into the speakership position by basically trying to say, well, Jim Jordan's at my side right now. How much power would Jim Jordan have as an assistant speaker? I don't know. But the fact that you still have a significant portion of Republicans still voting for Kevin McCarthy tells me that, again, there are, in fact, games being played here, because you had one of the candidates withdraw after McCarthy got so many votes because, again, they're realizing that something's not right, right? This guy seems to still have Republicans that are voting for him, even though he's coming out in public and saying that he's not in the race and that he's going to support whoever the GOP chooses. When he still has people that are holding out for him. They're not throwing their support behind the guy that he's throwing his support behind. Again, this is the type of weasel type behavior that I'm talking about, that somebody like Kevin McCarthy, I wouldn't be surprised if he is low-key trying to sabotage any speaker candidate to the point where the GOP gets so desperate that he comes forward as the hero to say, hey, well, I'm the only guy, right? I'm the only guy that can actually really be speaker. Okay, I'm the guy that can get the most votes. Is either me or Democrats, right? Or to do some deal with, Patrick McHenry or whatever. But regardless, I'm just saying, don't be surprised if the Mike Johnson vote doesn't go the way that it should go tomorrow, in the sense that there's still people that are holding out for whatever reason, right? They're still finding reasons to say, I'm not going to vote for him. And I'm talking about McCarthy guys, okay? Because I think at this point, a lot of people are just done with this, and they're saying, look, I just want to get a guy in there that's decent. And to me, in my opinion, I really don't see too much of a reason for the Freedom Caucus to oppose him. And I really don't see that much of a reason for the moderates to oppose him. He's an upgrade over McCarthy. It might be marginal, but he's definitely an upgrade for sure. The only reason that people would oppose him at this point is if, again, McCarthy is pulling strings behind closed doors to basically sabotage any GOP candidate that wants to be speaker while pretending that he supports him. I'm just saying, if you still have Republicans that are holding out for whatever reason, and they're not Freedom Caucus guys, they don't have actual, legitimate reasons, McCarthy is sabotaging the process, right? That's what I personally think. But I don't know, right? So I'm just saying, we're going to find out a lot more information, but apparently they're supposed to vote at 12 tomorrow at noon. We'll see if this guy gets the nod. But if he doesn't get the nod, and if it's a bunch of McCarthy guys, people that are not Freedom Caucus guys holding out, then McCarthy is sabotaging this behind closed doors. But that's just speculation. I really don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.